Hey Scrappers, Tom here from the iScrap app, and we're going to talk about everyone's favorite metal, and that is copper. Now we're going to talk about copper chops, and we're going to talk about Bear Bright, but before we do that favor for me, just subscribe to our channel so you can always get alerted when we have more videos. We have members only videos, other videos on how you can upgrade your copper, and we have other videos on what is worth upgrading or stripping when it comes to different copper wire, just to give you a better idea. Now, today we're going to talk about copper chops and stripped copper wire and why they're not the same, even though many of you may think that they are. Now, many of you may be saying, Tom, what's copper chops and where do I get those? So if you pan in here, when you look at copper chops, they're really small pieces of copper. Where do they come from? Well, they come from all types of wires. Could be Romex, could be Cat 5, could be Cat 6. But when you look at them, they're the really, really small pieces in there. And what you can do is you can just compare them to like a normal wire. So a normal wire like this will be put into a copper chopper. Now imagine a paper shredder, but for copper. This paper shredder, though, will take it with hammers and it'll pound, flatten the copper. So this round piece will become flat. Then it will go through a series of different chopping operations. Chop it into 1-inch pieces, 1/2-inch pieces, and then smaller. From there, the copper chop isn't copper chop yet. It's just chopped up small pieces of insulated copper. Now is where it gets tricky. It goes through rolling cycles of more grinding wheels, more blades chopping it up. Then the air system kicks in, where air is pushing the plastic one way and the copper remains. Now, once upon a time, copper chop had a really high value, but what changed? The amount of choppers. Now, I remember when I started in 2007, never hearing the phrase copper chop. In 2011, I heard of the first copper chopper. Fast forward to today in 2025 when we're filming this, I know 50 to 100 choppers if I really went into my Rolodex to find them. So what happened? Kind of like steel shredding. The upgrades were available, but then what happened? There were more chops on the market than there was demand. Now, once upon a time, these clean copper chops were in higher demand than Bear Bright. But what's happened is so many people have copper choppers, not everyone knows if they're doing a great job. There's problems when it comes to copper chop. Tin-coated copper mixed in, aluminum mixed in, and even, yes, residue of plastic if you don't have the right sorting system. I know a company that has 4 choppers built into one. So it goes through 4 rounds of chop to produce one of the cleanest chops I've ever seen. Now, I know another individual, an electrician, believe it or not, who bought their own copper chopper and sells them to me here, but we buy them about 10 cents over a number 1 tubing price because they don't have the filtration or the filters in place to really get all the impurities out. So when you look at this, this is thousands and thousands of small pieces of copper, and then when you look in this one, you could start to imagine that if you start to get the wrong one mixed in here, you're not going to have this clean copper chop. You may have a dirty product, and that doesn't bode well. In fact, look at this. This came out of the pile just now. This was a piece mixed in here, and that's why you don't always, that was just pure coincidence, scrappers, but that's why you don't always have a Bear Bright price. Now look at Bear Bright. Where's the insulation? Where's the contaminants? Right? There isn't any. So now if this goes into an export market, if it stays domestic, everyone knows what they're getting. The biggest contamination might be a piece of tape wrapped around it or an old end, but you're not going to have the same problem that you might when you start to go through these chop products. Not to mention, chop has different sizes. You got big heavy pieces that will melt slower, and you got really small pieces that, believe it or not, when they hit the heat, they could evaporate. Now, yes, there's catalysts above to catch a lot of these things and filters to catch the copper so it doesn't go up into the air, into the atmosphere. But nonetheless, if you buy 40,000 pounds of chop, you might only end up with 97 or 98% of that copper after you melt it down. When you melt the copper Bear Bright down, you're getting almost all of it, and it just makes for an easier process. So when you have copper chop, when you hear of copper chop, when your scrapyard, says to you, oh, it's different than Bear Bright, there's reasons behind it, and these are some of them. If we've missed some, comment below and let us know. If you think that I'm wrong, well, hell, you can be added to the list of many people who think that I've been wrong and proven right before, both ways. So, you let me know. I'm here to learn as much as you are, and hopefully this video helped educate you on the value of copper chop versus Bear Bright. Any other questions, comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'll scrap you later.